Hey, this is Alex with the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Unbiased Blazers. There's a link in our bio for our Discord server where you can join in on the discussions, give us takes, give us comments, or simply just join in on a podcast. Also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this podcast. Now, let's get to the show. And as always, Rip City, baby.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Liftoff and the clock has started.
Hello, guys, and welcome to a special edition here in the Unbiased Trailblazers podcast. I'm today hosting because Alex can be here, and I'm joined by Forward. Forward, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. We are here on a special edition because a blockbuster just happened. If you don't know or if you're living under a rock, I won't judge you because I found out about it like 6 hours later. So, if you don't know, the Blazers did a trade with the New Orleans Pelicans. So basically, the Blazers get Josh Hart, Tomas Satoransky, Nickel Alexander-Walker, Didi Louzada, a 2022 top 4 protected first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. As the Pelicans will get CJ McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell. Before I just give my quick opinion, from the information that we've got, Dame is fully on board with this, and we'll touch on that later. But Fawad, what are your kind of initial thoughts on this?
Yeah, my initial thoughts, before I found out what the full trade was, and I just knew, I think the first tweet said it was like Josh Hart and draft compensation. So I was happy with Josh Hart because we've talked about him in a previous episode about like how I thought he would be a really good fit to this roster. He's a good defender. He can play the 3 or the 4, and he's an okay shooter as well. So, I originally wanted him for Covington, but I'm okay with getting him with CJ instead or as well. So I was happy with that. And I was hoping that we were gonna get the Milwaukee. Sorry, I was hoping we weren't gonna get the Milwaukee pick because that would have been, probably like the 29th, 30th. So and we ended up getting the New Orleans pick, which will probably be in the 9-10 range. So I'm really happy with that as well.
Yeah, in my opinion, when I first saw the deal, I was kind of shaky about it because when you see CJ McCollum, considering how well he played last year when Dame was out, you kind of expect something like extra. But then I saw that the pick was from the Pelicans for this year, so it's a good pick. And if you think about it, really this summer having 2 first-round picks really help us either draft like a very solid core for the future, or it can even be used as a trade piece to get whatever fits better with Dame. Um, Also we get the 2 second-round picks. It's just some compensation for giving also Larry Nance and Tony Snell. And another thing I want to talk about is it's been kind of told that that Damian Lillard is fully on board with this trade, but it wasn't talk about that on the first trade of the Norman Powell deal. Do you think? Because for me, personally, I'll tell this. For me, it's kind of weird that both guards are gone from our team because when you talk about having an issue before, like, oh, we have an issue on defense, we are the worst defense in the league. Uh, a lot of us, because we have good players like Larry Nance, Robert Covington, both gone now. But I think a lot of us, the general consensus was that the worst defensive problems we had was to having 2 guards, and we talk about that a lot on the show, and all 3 of us wanted to basically trade one of the guards and keep the other one and build like get a good forward. Uh, but now that doesn't seem like the direction that 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 we had it because we traded both guards. Do you think Dame really is on top of these deals, or he's just valuing players and not checking the deals?
Yeah, I was surprised that we traded both Norm and CJ too, but I don't even want to get into the specifics of the Norm trade because I'm still mad about it. But for in terms of Dame, I think he's probably being kept in the loop about like who the front office wants to trade from our team, and maybe he's like being given updates on like we've heard these offers, but I feel like he's not, I don't know for sure, but I feel like he's not as involved as some people think he is, and I think he's probably just knows that, who we're looking to send out, and he's not the one making the decisions on which offer to accept or something like that. So I think he's kind of just letting the front office be like, okay, you guys, what you're saying, I'll listen to what you guys are saying, and you guys try to find the best offer for these guys, and then we'll see what happens later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what I first thought was on the Norman deal. Well, I didn't think anything on that deal. I just thought how bad it was. Um, and on the other deal, I kind of felt like that would be more something that Damian Lillard would veto, in my opinion, because you give out a guard, and you get a good pick, a very solid role player, and some young pieces just to attach to it. So as I said, I feel like this trade, without the other one happening, would be a great start to a deadline season. But
Yeah, definitely.
but the other trade happened, so you gotta start to think. Okay, both our guards is gone. Are we chasing a shooting guard? I don't know. Who do you think? First, I want to get to this. Considering that we are fully revamping the squad, uh, to build something new and exciting around Dame. Do you think we'll see any other players that haven't left that are going to leave?
You mean like before the deadline or even later on in the summer?
Uh, yeah, before the deadline and even when the off season starts.
In the off season, I don't know. There's like so many different things to consider. I think that we're probably gonna try to get someone big. 'Cause, they did say that they're trying to still build around Dame. I think at the deadline, I don't think we're gonna trade Nurk, so I think he's staying, and we're probably gonna end up re-signing him too. Um, and I think the only other person that has a chance of being traded would be like, sorry, let me just pull up the team again. Um, if we flipped either Nikhil Alexander Walker with Bledsoe and maybe like a second rounder or something like that. Um, I saw some reports that we're still trying to Henry Grant even after today's trade. Maybe like Bledsoe and like Nikhil for Jeremy Grant or something like that. I don't think that any of the guys that were on our roster like from before will be traded because the only people left anyways are like Nurk and Nas and like Ben McLemore, and then like the young guys like Greg Brown and CJ LB. So I don't think any of those guys, anyone would even be interested in those guys. So I think the only people that might be traded again are the people that we just brought in.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like what we have now is a good roster to like head into the off season already and just chase the deals then. Um, some other reports that came out was that Portland was really high on Jeremy Grant, and
Mhm.
eventually, just a few days ago, we also got the news that Jerry Grant would like a primary role and he'd like 100 million for 4 years.
I think I saw
Th-
120 million, which is a lot.
Oof, I don't want to do that. But
Yeah.
what I saw was he was chasing a 100 mil 4 year contract. Do you think that would be a good deal for us to chase?
I was really in favor of getting Jeremy Grant earlier in the season, but after I heard that he wants to have, like a big role, and he wants, that giant contract extension. I'm a little bit more hesitant, but if we can get him for cheap, like Bledsoe in like a couple seconds or something like that, then I think that's still worth trying. Because I think he
Yeah.
still does fit with our team, even if he's like, if he's well, he should be the second option, in my opinion. So if he's the second option, or maybe third with Ant, then I think he would bring a lot of defense, and I think that would be good. And I don't know. I think I liked it a lot more early on. Now I'm a little bit more I'm like 50-50 now.
Yeah. I'm very much on the same position because he was a player that I liked, but as the season went on, I kind of understood kind of watching their games and his play style. It wasn't something that I'd really see fit well with our squad, even though we have a really good backcourt and we are in severe lack of front court. Um, I feel like he wouldn't be the best fit right now for us. Uh, One thing I gotta touch before we end it is that Portland right now we traded Norman Powell, we traded CJ McCollum. Which which shooting guard would you like to have to complete a future starting lineup?
Between CJ and Norm, or like,
No,
um,
no, any player we can chase because we'll have to chase a
oh,
shooting
okay,
guard
okay, okay.
eventually.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
have to get
I
like a
mean,
starting quality.
I feel like
So
they're trying to start Ant at the shooting guard next year, which I don't know. I feel like it might be too similar to Dame and CJ. But if I was able to get someone else, Harden's probably leaving, so if we can get in on that somehow, that would be great. Maybe uh Zach Levine's been one of my favorite players, but I think the Bulls are doing so good that I don't think he would leave, and they'd probably give him like a max contract this summer or something. But if something happened and he left, if we could get him, that would be great. Um, who else is there? I don't want Beal. I know Beal has. Well, some people were saying that he could be traded, but even if he is, I don't want him. Um, because I feel like he has some attitude issues that I don't want to be a part of. And he's been pretty, he's been a lot worse this year than he was the last couple. So I don't know if he regressed or if he's just in a long slump, but I don't want him anymore. I'd rather focus
I
more on getting a better
in
forward than another guard.
yeah, I agree. I don't think we need more a forward than we need a guard, but I think we're too traumatized with focusing on two guards that it's time for us to take a different direction. But yeah, in terms of shooting guards, of course, when I first see that Norman Powell and CJ McCollum both get traded, I'm thinking like there's gotta be Harden somewhere, and I kind of don't have any hopes for that because I feel like he's going to Philadelphia. That's the deal that makes
Probably.
sense. And in terms of Bradley Beal, I'm actually a huge fan of Bradley, and I think it fit perfect for us actually. Um, and I'd really like to see because he can play. He's a he's a good defender. He can play this free too, even if he needs minutes there. So there's a player I like. But yeah, as you said, I think our focus should be still on getting a forward to pair with Dame, because we still have a starting point guard and we still have a starting center. Those are basically our two pieces to build around. Even
Hmm.
though Nurkic is still an uncertainty if he'll stay, but I feel like if Dame's not opposed to the trades, he's not either. Because Nurk was very vocal before about the last year about the team not making any good changes. So if the team is changing, I feel like he'll be on board with it for sure, and it will be nice to count on him because he has been playing very well. So yeah, anything you want to add before we end it?
Actually, yeah. Before we started recording this, we started recording as like we started recording and it got cut. So we talked about like thanking CJ. So I think we should get that back on the record because that will be lost otherwise. Like a lot of us were kind of I don't want to say fed up with CJ, but we knew that it was time to move on. But that doesn't mean that he's not a Blazers legend, and I think we're all really grateful for his time here. And we wouldn't have made the Western Conference Finals without him. So I'm still a fan. I hope he does well in New Orleans, and I'm happy he'll get a fresh start.
Yeah, absolutely. It got messed up in the recording, but we started the prior one with some huge CJ respect, and he was he was kind of the second player that made me really fall in love with the Blazers, even though I'm a huge Dame fan, and I really like LaMarcus Aldridge. After Brandon Roy, CJ was really the guy that made me like fall back for the Blazers and really assert the Blazers as my franchise. And yeah, as you said, I wish him the best. I'll be watching a lot of games for sure of the Pelicans now. I want to see him ball. I'll for sure miss his jumper. Looks so smooth always, and his shot creation. The Pelicans will certainly enjoy him because
Yeah,
even
he's a
though
good
we
fit
kind of
there
got
too.
frustrated. Yeah, he's a good fit. They need like some good shot creating, and he'll
Yeah,
bring that for sure. And even though we kind of got frustrated for him, it wasn't the player that we were mad at. It was the situation, and he was the
yeah.
easier target to
His
pick
fit here is
because
really bad, probably like one of the worst in the league. But the fit in New Orleans is really good, so I think he'll do well.
yeah, absolutely. All right. So that
And
finishes up our podcast. You
so
wanna
I just
anything
want
you
to
wanna add?
quickly Yeah, I just wanted to quickly give my closing thoughts on the trade. Because a lot of people really didn't like it at first. I think they're warming up to it now, but I think at first a lot of the complaints were that like we didn't get, a big player back. But I think that one reason why was that CJ's contract was so big that a lot of teams didn't want to take that on, and he's also an undersized guard, so that made his value not as high as some people thought it was. So I think that and I don't remember who it was, but one of the like big reporters, they also said that most teams saw his contract as negative value. So I think that that's probably why I wasn't surprised because I knew that his contract was seen as that bad. Um, and like that's what probably why people were expecting more because as a player he's good, but his contract is so big that made it low. But I think given that, and then also that we have Dame and Ant, and we can probably get another guard as well. So his value to us isn't like we were just talking about. It's not as big to us as um even most other teams. They have like a good guard. So New Orleans is only one of the few teams where he was a good fit. So I think that's why there weren't a lot of bidders for CJ, only like maybe two or three teams. So that's why I think his value wasn't super high, and we still got like we talked about, we still got a high end role player and a lottery pick. So I think that's a very good value. So I'm happy with that. It did suck to lose
Yeah,
Larry Nance
absolutely.
though, but whatever.
Yeah, he just got warming up and he's gone. And we were very high on him. But yeah, it's gotta be part of the deal, and it's a deal that makes sense for us now, and it's finally a deal I can stand behind and say that we'll probably move for the better now. Uh, okay, so that wraps up this podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to join our Discord and share your thoughts about this trade with us too. We have a nice discussion going on. We know the news comes out first in our podcast and on Twitter almost. So feel free to join in. And as always, Rip City, baby.